Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a little bit different kind of video. We're going to do a video that's structured a little bit more like a class. This is going to be a beginner class. We're going to do some conditioning, and then we're going to do some beginner moves, and then we're going to do a little combo with all the beginner moves put together. However, before we get started, I want to do one quick word from my heart here, which is that this video is meant as a supplement to in-person classes. If you are anywhere in the world that you can possibly take an in-person class, that is such a better choice than a YouTube video, because an in-person qualified teacher can give you corrections based on what you specifically are doing, which I can't because I can't see you right now. If you possibly can, go to a beginner class, take a class from a qualified teacher, start out that way. This is meant as a supplement to your normal in-person training, but it's also good to have little reminders of the stuff that we learned in class, and that's what I hope this will be. So let's get started. We're going to start with some beginner conditioning exercises. These should be challenging but not painfully difficult.
First off, of course, you should always use a mat when you're training, even for conditioning. Our first conditioning exercise is one of my favorites. It's mostly for shoulders and lats, but it will also help you remember to keep a long, stretched neck in the air. I'm going to walk my feet out from under the center of the hoop in a diagonal line. If I'm feeling ambitious, I can lift them up entirely, but mostly it's just important that you don't have any weight on your feet. I'm going to place my hands on the top of the hoop and then let my shoulders come up and use my lats to pull them down with control, pulling my body up as I do so. I'm basically just thinking, pull those shoulders down. You can see here how much the muscles on the sides of my body are getting engaged. But the most important thing here is that you keep going straight up and straight down. There's a tendency to go backwards, which is not going to help you at all. This is not building any strength if you start to go backwards. You want to keep it going directly up and directly down. If it helps, you can video yourself just to check. For our next conditioning exercise, we're going to do the same setup. So I'm putting my hands on the top of the hoop and I'm taking the weight off of my legs. And I'm going to lift up one leg using my abs to lift up the weight of the leg, then the other, and then both. I'm going to do this at least 3 sets. 5 sets would also be great if you're feeling ambitious again. Or if you're feeling very comfortable in this, it's not really that challenging for you, you can start by just doing both legs at the same time for each movement. Again, I would do at least 3 sets of 3, and you could also try straightening your legs on the way down to make it even more challenging. And our final conditioning exercise is going to be from the floor, so I'm sitting directly underneath my hoop. I'm going to place my hands about shoulder width apart on the bottom of the hoop with my hands facing me if I want the easy version. Or if I want to make it a little more challenging, they can be facing away from me. That's going to be slightly harder. I'm going to straighten my legs out in front of me and pull up, lifting my hips and touching my chest to the bottom bar. That's your goal, to touch your chest to the bottom bar of the hoop. I'm engaging my abs, I'm engaging my arms and my biceps, and I'm keeping my legs nice and straight. So this is really kind of a whole body workout. It's a great way to work on your pull-ups without actually having to do a pull-up. The most important thing here is to both lift yourself and lower with control. Don't just lift up and then plop down.
Okay, now you should hopefully be feeling nice and warm and your muscles are all engaged. Let's do a few basic things you're going to need anytime you're doing aerial hoop, like how to get into the hoop, how to sit up. Again, this should be a supplement to your in-person class, but maybe it'll help jog your memory of something you already did in person.
Let's talk about how to get onto the hoop. First, I'm going to show you this Delilah mount, which is probably the most simple mount you can do. You're just placing both hands on one side of the hoop with your palms facing each other, lifting yourself up and hooking on one leg. Next, I'm going to walk my hands slightly higher on the side of the hoop. I'm going to place one hand on each side. Then I can bring my bottom leg, which is free, up inside the hoop. I'm going to straighten it and push down, levering myself up into a sitting position on the hoop. Although this is a really simple and easy mount, it is not my favorite because you can see in this video I'm already swinging. Anytime you do a Delilah mount like this, you're almost inevitably going to end up swinging slightly, which can throw off your spin or just be a bit weird once you're in the air. So it's not my personal favorite. What is my favorite, you ask? Well, it's actually this one, the straddle mount. This is my go-to and it's a really useful mount for many reasons. You're going to start below the hoop, place your hands together in the center with your palms facing away from each other. Then I'm going to walk my feet slightly forward so that my hips are underneath the hoop. If your hoop's higher, you might not need to do that step. I'm going to pull up with my arms. I'm going to throw one leg on either side of my hands, and I'm going to do a nice arched back and proud chest coming between my arms. Next, I'm going to reach up with my legs and hook them on the bottom of the hoop. Notice how the hoop is really in my knee pit and not on my calf or my thigh. I'm going to reach up my hands as far as possible, at least halfway up the hoop. Straighten one leg, and again, lever myself up using that straight leg. See how I'm arching my back here, and I'm leaving my head back until the last minute. If you arch up in this way, it's going to be much prettier than if you crawl up looking up with your head. This mount is so useful, especially once you start to use a higher hoop and you're looking for a pretty mount you can do with straight arms. So good.
And finally, we are going to do a few beginner moves. We're going to do the man in the moon. I've got my little list of moves here. I'm so prepared. So proud of myself. Cradle. We're going to do a push away split. Don't worry, you don't need a full split to do this. You can do this even if your splits aren't 180 degrees yet. We're going to do a switch sides of the hoop, and we're going to do a mermaid. You may know some of these already. I'll show you guys some little extra details that I like to make them look extra pretty.
I will just mention that I do already have in-depth tutorials for all of these moves already on my channel, so if you are looking for something a little bit more in-depth, then go check that out. But we'll start with Man in the Moon. The first thing you do is turn as far as possible to the side. You'll notice how I'm placing the hoop kind of in my bum like a G-string. I put both hands on the top of the hoop and I lean back, placing the hoop on my shoulder. Next, I'm going to lift up the same leg as the shoulder that the hoop is on and place it high up on the hoop. Lift up the second leg and place it slightly lower. You'll notice here that I'm really pulling my heels away from the hoop. I'm only touching the hoop with the balls of my feet. And when I feel secure, I'm letting go with my arms, doing some beautiful shapes. The hoop should be resting right down your spine. It's right in the middle of your back. Make sure that even though you might be thinking about balancing, you want to look nice and relaxed here. The goal of this is to look pretty and relaxed. Next, we're going to do a little variation on Man in the Moon. I'm placing one hand on the top of the hoop, straightening one leg and crossing it through the hoop so it's pressing against the outside of my ankle. I'm doing the same thing with the other leg so that the hoop is really passing between my two ankles. I can use those to help me balance, as again, I let go with my arms. This is a nice little variation, especially if you're tall like me and don't fit in the hoop that easily. And finally, I'm going to replace the hand on the top and slide my legs down, coming into this beautiful seated position. Next up, we're going to do a push away split. Like I said, this does not need to be a crazy split, so if you're still working on that flexibility, don't worry. This is going to be very doable for you. I'm going to start by sitting facing forward in the hoop and dropping my hips slightly back. Next, I lean my shoulders back, sliding to my knees, and I place one foot on the bottom of the hoop in the center, and then join it with the other foot. Finally, I take off one leg. Either leg will work, so don't worry about which one it is. And I'm doing this little half split here, but you could also do something with your knees together like this, or you could even cross over one leg. This is also really pretty. Get creative with that second free leg. Finally, to come back into the hoop, I'm going to take that free leg, put it back through the center of the hoop, and bend my working leg, that's the one that's got the foot on the hoop, bringing the hoop back towards my body so I can sit down, coming back to where I started. For our third beginner move, we're going to do a cradle. This is a very simple rest move. I call it a rest move because you're locked into the hoop so you can kind of relax. I'm going to take one leg out the back of the hoop, and then I'm going to reach the same arm as that leg. I've got my left leg out the back, so I'm using my left arm to reach forward in the hoop and then place the back of my left shoulder against the same side as the arm of the hoop. So I've got my left leg, my left arm, and I've placed my left shoulder against the hoop, putting me in this beautiful cradle position. Again, you could also get really creative here. You could grab a foot, you could bring both knees together, you could straighten your bottom leg. There's a lot of options. Finally, to come back into the hoop, I'm going to reach up and grab the top with both hands. I like to do this with my hands, one facing forward, one facing back. and then bring myself back to a seated position very simply. Next, we're going to do what's called a switch sides because you are switching sides of the hoop. This is a really useful move. You'll use it a lot in choreography later on because sometimes you need a specific leg in the hoop to do the next move. I'm going to start by putting my hands on the top of the hoop with one facing forward, one facing back, and straightening the leg of the hand that is facing back towards me. Next, I thread that leg through so it's on the other side of the hoop. My legs are kind of crossed here. I'm going to pass my head and my shoulders through the hoop. As I do that, my arms are going to naturally cross. I'm going to end up with one leg, the leg that I threaded through, in the front, and my arms crossed in this little half split position, and bring that free leg back through to sit on the bottom of the hoop. This might feel a little confusing at first because there's a lot of steps and it's a little counterintuitive, but after you've done it 4 or 5 times, it's going to start to feel a lot more natural. Also be aware that the hoop is going to move separately from your body, so just be a little bit ready for that moment when the hoop kind of flips around. I also really like to hold the shape that I end up with my arms crossed at the end there and just kind of show that off because that can be really pretty too. Anyway, that's your switch sides. It's really useful and it's really a nice little bit of choreography to throw in anywhere you need it. And our final move today is going to be a mermaid. I love a mermaid. It's really pretty and it's a great transition for other moves later on. I'm going to place both hands on top of the hoop, slide my hips back and down. Pay attention to the down part. That's really important. Then I'm going to reach out with one hand behind me and flip my hips 180 degrees over so that they're facing the ground. You will feel a little pressure on your thigh as you flip over because the hoop is pressing into your thigh, but that's normal and don't let it stop you from flipping over the full 180 degrees. You need your hips facing the ground. To come out of it, I'm just re-flipping, if that's a word, and arching my way back up to a seated position. The beauty of these 5 moves is they can be put together in a little combo, and here's how you do that. We're going to start with your man in the moon, turn sideways, place the hoop on your shoulder, place your feet. Beautiful man in the moon. Nice start. Next, I'm going to replace that hand on top, straighten the legs, remember squeezing the hoop between your ankles on the top. And that's almost like 2 moves, so actually I guess it's a combo of 6 moves. Finally sliding my legs down to the seated position. Now I'm going to go directly into the cradle, so I'm going to take the shoulder opposite from my knee that's on top, place it in front of the hoop so I can feel the hoop on the back of my shoulder, and I do a little twist around to face the front. You'll kind of naturally end up in the right position. From the cradle, I'm going into my push-away split, so I'm placing both hands on the top of the hoop, sliding that shoulder out the back, placing the foot on the middle of the hoop, and going into the push-away split. I'm coming out of it into this nice seated position, and I'm ready to start my next move, which is the switch sides. I'm placing one hand facing each direction on the top of the hoop and threading that leg through. And this is where I'm going to hold that crossed arms position. It's such a cute moment. Milk it. Finally, I'm sitting back down. You could do as many of these as you want here. I'm just going to do one so I can go ahead and transition into my mermaid to finish off our combo. I'm also bending a leg there. I think it's really cute to bend a leg in the mermaid. I'm coming out of it to sit back in the center of the hoop, and I'm done. That's it.
That's it. I hope you guys had fun in beginner class today. I hope that you enjoyed what we did, and if you did, please take a minute to subscribe to this channel because I've got all kinds of videos. I've got tutorials for all of these specific moves that we did today. There's just so many videos on this channel at this point, so make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss out on anything, and there's new things coming all the time. And also, if you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be super helpful as well. And with that, I will see you guys next time.